Yo, what's up, neighbors? Let's do some cool talk this morning. Fuck that. The U.S.G.S., United States Geological Service. Now, this is an institution in the federal government. United States Geological Service. And their mission, their goal, long time running, is to map the geology of this nation and our planet. That organization puts together maps for the mineral industry to go find the minerals that we need to live like we do, for this cell phone to work, for me to complain about it. So this U.S.G.S., United States Geological Service, I've mentioned in past videos, work with Exxon Production Research on their lab instrument doing elemental analysis for groundwater testing and transport measurements. There was a Cray supercomputer involved that replaced an IBM supercomputer. So a little bit of big data going on back there in the 80s, in the 70s, in the 60s, in the 50s. So this U.S.G.S. as an institution has been doing this. You can find their maps, you can see their maps. You can also see that there's a wealth of vendors, contractors, corporations that will provide that information in much more granular detail, cross sections, or that type of analysis. And then you get into geological survey companies and their use of that information. So that U.S.G.S., what's behind them? Thousands of contracts with private companies doing specific research in specific areas with very specific tools. Backing those private companies up are America's national labs, which again, there's a dozen of them, a little over a handful, that do some of the most precise measurement work on this planet that leads into better, faster, greater, more profits for somebody. So this U.S.G.S. is one of those institutions hanging out there in our federal government. They are looking at long-term strategic planning. Learning about this Earth is long-term strategic planning, where those resources are. So why does it matter? What is the point of the conversation? A little bit about mining. Professor in another video was showing off a bar of rubidium, I believe was the element. And this is in the ultra high purity world. He's holding a bar about broomstick size, maybe 1.5 feet long. Weighs a few pounds, but he can pick it up with one hand, so we're in a 6 to 10 pound class. But in his conversation, he mentioned, I think it took 10 million tons of earth being refined to make that 6-pound bar. My numbers aren't exact, but that's how significant the U.S.G.S. is. They have identified across the planet where these minerals are in high abundance. Now, this is a common thread through history. This was used, crystals, before we learned how to grow them well, were recovered from mines, were part of a supply chain from South American mines, grown naturally in caves, crystals pure enough to be used for your radio sets. Build a crystal radio with your grandkid or something, just because it's a piece of antiquity. And it depends on a heterodyne principle that's pretty cool, used everywhere now. Whether you like it, your touch screen kind of works with that heterodyne thingy going somehow. So the U.S.G.S. simply identifies and maps these minerals. Other labs are out there. If you go to one of my favorite elemental and isotope knowledge sites, periodictable.com, I think, look into an isotope and its decay properties, or its isotopic abundance tables. That's the abundance on Earth, in the air, out into the planets now. We're mapping out to planets. We know that some asteroids have very high precious metals content. So what if we could harvest an asteroid out in space and just send the metal back and leave that 20 million tons leftover asteroid to go its merry way? Who should get rich off of this, or should the nation profit from this asset, this U.S.G.S. database, global information systems, global, that's not the term for it, but it is global information, relative, huge. We're now getting out into tetrabytes of data we're moving. The amount of data that comes out of CERN overwhelms some things. So, U.S.G.S., United States Geological Survey, was the second acronym into Afghanistan behind the military. Within days and weeks, they had deployed most likely contract surveyors to go across areas of Afghanistan and do this mapping. What would be the purpose of that? So you know this, you understand why we do this, because we need stuff. That stuff makes life better, makes the windmills work or whatever, or not. And the U.S.G.S. is doing a favor for somebody here. Out of this, I mentioned data sets, information sets larger than a breadbasket that are hard to even fathom, on storage farms and data arrays going back to magnetic tape in vaults, still unopened again, buried in the bowels of old mine shafts for temperature and humidity stability. So half of America's data is hiding out in the basement. This is the U.S.G.S. This is their role and responsibility. So inside of this, right, this institution, it's been around a long time. I'm surprised it hasn't been renamed. That's one of the tactics, is rename it, right? They probably will after this one. So they go to work, they do their thing. They're all across the country. They're private, they're professional, they're good, they're bad, or they're just people that know a lot about this stuff, talking, sharing with others. U.S.G.S. goes about its business. It has a long-term mission and goal. No one will argue with on either side of these aisles that we've made. So, what's a mother to do? What is a mother to do? Now, the U.S.G.S. shares massive amounts of data. To see, to visualize this data, to turn it into a cross-section of a county next to you in a state, takes tools that don't run on even some of the best desktops. Well, they probably do now with these game cards, but we're games. So, the opportunities are huge. To understand this is huge. Inside of this, maybe another video because I'm going too long, is a national, don't quote me on the name, but it's National Strategic Energy Policy. It's why we say in 30 years from now, this city needs this much energy. This factory needs this much energy. This subdivision needs this much energy. Whether it's coal, gas, electricity, because you can't do this by yourself. So these larger organizations have disappeared from public discourse. These are some of the things that FEMA operates, 10, 20, 30-year plans to further the nation's whatever this is. This is what's hidden in the soup that we're served up in mass media. And this is the best you get to talk about it, eh? Peace out. 100 subscribers didn't get me to being able to chat easily. Don't have the resources yet, but soon we will escape soon.